So Donald Trump got smacked down by the courts for allegedly illegally implementing his sweeping tariffs without congressional approval. And the Supreme Court is set to weigh in November at Trump's request. His administration could have to pay back billions of dollars in tariffs that they've already collected. Stick around, I'll break down this mess and what it means for us. But first, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you'll be the first to know when we post. This is Pragmotiv News, and I'm Trey. So what was the first thing Trump did when taking office for his second term? Yapped and yapped on and on about tariffs and how they were going to save the economy. Well, first of all, the economy was already booming by all metrics, despite the inflation that was plaguing us regular people. But we have to remember that the inflation was caused by the interruptions in the supply chain that was caused by the COVID pandemic, which was caused by Trump's gross mismanagement of the pandemic in his first term. But that's a topic for another day. So before we go forward, watch this video explaining exactly what a tariff is.
Let's correct the big misconception about tariffs right off the bat, that they are taxes paid by foreign exporters who want to sell their goods in America. This is wrong. Tariffs are levied on the importers of foreign goods, meaning they are taxes paid by American companies and American consumers. By artificially making foreign goods more expensive, the hope is to pressure Americans into spending their money on products made at home.
Proponents of tariffs often cite the period between the Civil War and World War I as evidence of their beneficial effects. At the time, tariffs accounted for around 40 to 90% of government revenue, and American industry was growing at a rapid pace. But this was also a time of great instability, marked by multiple depressions and vast economic inequality. They don't call it the Gilded Age for nothing.
So now, look at how these tariffs are hurting American businesses, especially small businesses.
Robbins joins me now. Julie, really appreciate your time. You are a U.S. manufacturer, but you do source some parts from overseas. Talk about the effect tariffs have had on your business.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Phil. And I'd also like to thank you for giving a voice to other small business owners and other members of the Main Street Alliance. So yes, as you mentioned, we're a U.S. manufacturer. We do everything here in downtown Akron, Ohio. And basically, our products use over 900, to be precise, 961 different components. And these are sourced from over 14 different countries of origin. So we import everything, but then we do all the manufacturing here. Due to the tariffs, our prices are rising drastically, and it's also created a market disruption and impacted our demand.
Now, when you talk about...
So I could give you an example.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, when you talk about your prices are rising significantly, are those being passed on? How are you weathering that?
Well, we need to pass them on, but we're unable to calculate the exact price increase due to the chaos around the tariffs. They're constantly changing from week to week, so we're unable to implement a price increase yet. But just an example, we have a product that without tariffs, it was $129, and we have about a 15% net profit on that. If the Chinese tariffs stay in place, we'd have to raise the price about 23% to maintain a profit margin on it.
One of the questions I always have is, how do you plan right now? Like, what's the outlook for your business for the rest of this year in this moment?
Well, we are down about 15% for the year. April was down nearly 30%. We are definitely seeing, issues with consumer demand. Consumer sentiment is really low right now. So we're forecasting that we'll be down. We're looking to save costs any way that we can, and really just paying attention to how things are changing. We have a lot of data, so we are always checking our data as every change goes into effect. But it's made things really challenging for any kind of long-term planning or product launches. So we've had to delay or even scrap product launches. And that's really unfortunate because a lot of our revenue is based on new products.
Before I let you go, just your role in the community since inception. How do you guys view yourself in Akron?
Well, if you know Akron, you know that we were really devastated when the rubber companies left and moved their manufacturing elsewhere in the 70s and 80s. In fact, where I am right now, we're right across the street from the former BF Goodrich factory. So for us living and growing up in this place, we really wanted to create and maintain good jobs here. So jobs that pay a living wage, that have paid time off and benefits and health care, retirement planning. And we feel that that's incredibly important for our community. So even though it always would have been more affordable to manufacture overseas, we've always prioritizing having jobs here in Ohio. We are now actually considering for the first time offshoring our manufacturing due to the chaos around the tariffs. Our competitors overseas, they are not dealing with these issues. They don't have these extra fees. And so it's like the US is basically the least competitive place to be manufacturing.
The business, once again, is Earthquaker Devices. It's based in Akron, Ohio. Check it out.
So I know that clip was a little long, but I wanted to make sure that I included it because it touched on two important points. The first being that you can't run a business if you don't know what your future costs are going to be. You have to know what your out-of-pocket costs are going to be. And the second one being the point that if they can't make new products and plan for the future, launch new products, and that's the crux of their business, then they're going to go out of business and then people are going to be laid off. So expanding on what we just watched, it already costs a lot to manufacture here in the United States because of that cost of labor, among other things. But it's mainly the cost of labor. But when you add tariffs on top, just like you saw in the video, it drives up the cost of the source materials. So now we, the consumers, have to pay for the artificially inflated costs of the source materials, plus the higher labor costs. And that's when you get astronomically high prices. So what will consumers like us do? We will be forced to choose products that are made overseas because they will still be cheaper, even though they have the tariff attached to them. It doesn't include the high labor costs, even with that tariff attached. So it's still going to be cheaper than what is made here in the United States, if that makes sense. So Trump's administration is actively hurting U.S. companies with these tariffs more than they are hurting countries like China, India, Mexico, and Canada. He's isolating all of those countries and forcing them to form their own alliance that will have to exclude us. So we are the ones left out in the cold. We can't grow and produce everything here in the United States. The modern world depends on being in a global economy. So let's just use things that are produced here in this country as an example. Now, walk with me here. Think about if we stop trading state to state. Can you find fresh Gulf of Mexico seafood in the middle of Nebraska? What about Florida oranges in Wyoming? Or how about California produce in Rhode Island? You see my point? Everything has its place. That's just how the world works. Because one area is better for growing something than another area. One place has water and the other doesn't. So Scott Bessent said that it would be devastating to the Treasury if it's determined that they have to pay back the tariffs, which would amount to billions of dollars, like I told y'all at the top of the show. Well, y'all should have thought about that before blatantly usurping Congress's authority. I mean, the Republicans have complete control of the entire federal government right now. They control the House, the Senate, the White House, and the Supreme Court. So it shouldn't have been hard to get legislation passed for tariffs. But the Trump administration couldn't do that because they know how bad the tariffs are for the economy. They know the harm that they're doing. Either that or they just that incompetent. It's probably both. So am I holding my breath that the Supreme Court will do the right thing for the country and strike down these damaging tariffs? No, but they could. So I guess we have to have a little hope. But before I go, the real fucked up thing is, what if they do the right thing and require these tariffs to be refunded? It will go back to the companies that, quote, paid them. Nah. Do y'all think these companies will refund us, the consumer, for the extra money that we have spent all of these months because of these tariffs? Hell nah. So once again, the little guys get screwed. But anyway, stay posted to Pragmotiv News for updates on this tariff saga. That's all for now. Like, comment, subscribe, and follow at Pragmotiv News everywhere to stay pragmotivated. Also, remember that you can find us across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and iHeartRadio so that you can listen to us even when you're out on the go. So head on over there and follow us and make sure you leave a review because it really helps out with the algorithm and it'll help get us in front of more people. Until next time, peace.